It's hard to imagine that something like this could happen, but it did. My life was turned upside down when Karen, someone I had trusted and considered a part of my family, kicked my child and me out of our own home. What followed was nothing short of a nightmare, with events that left me in disbelief. The shocking reality of what happened next is something I never could have prepared for. At first, I couldn't believe what was happening. I stood there, frozen, as Karen stood in the doorway, her face twisted with anger. "You don't belong here anymore," she said, her voice cold and final. My heart sank as I looked at my child, who clung to me, unsure of what to do or where to go. We had lived in this house for years, built memories, and created a home. But now, just like that, it was being ripped away from us by someone I thought I could trust. With nowhere else to go, I gathered what little we could, my hands trembling as I packed our things. Karen didn't offer a single word of sympathy, not even a hint of remorse. It was as if everything we had shared meant nothing to her. The door slammed shut behind us, and just like that, we were out on the street. But the worst was yet to come. As we wandered aimlessly, trying to figure out what our next step would be, I couldn't shake the feeling that Karen's actions were just the beginning. I had no idea that the terrible events that would unfold in the following days would leave me questioning everything I thought I knew about the people around me. The nightmare was far from over. The first night we spent in a cheap motel was nothing short of uncomfortable, but it was safe, at least for now. I tried to comfort my child as best I could, but I could see the confusion and fear in their eyes. "Why did she do that, Mommy?" they asked, their tiny voice cracking with emotion. I had no answers. I didn't know why Karen, someone who had been a part of our lives for so long, would turn on us like that. It felt like betrayal, like everything we had built together had been nothing more than a lie. But I didn't have time to dwell on the why. I had to focus on what came next, where we would go, how we would survive. The next morning, I tried calling family and friends, but the phone calls were met with cold silence or dismissive responses. It was as if no one wanted to get involved. My heart grew heavier with each unanswered call. It felt like we were completely alone in this mess, abandoned by everyone who had once claimed to care. Days turned into weeks, and things only seemed to get worse. Karen's actions didn't stop with just kicking us out. She began spreading rumors, painting me as an unfit mother, and telling anyone who would listen that I had abandoned my responsibilities. Each word she spread felt like a knife twisting deeper into my back. Soon, I received a call from social services. Someone had reported me, accusing me of neglect. My stomach dropped as I realized that Karen had gone even further. She was trying to destroy me. I had to fight back, not just for my own dignity, but for my child's future. But the road ahead was long, and I had no idea how I would make it through. The worst part? I knew Karen wasn't done yet. This was only the beginning, and I could only brace myself for what was to come. The days felt like an endless blur, filled with court dates, meetings with lawyers, and endless paperwork. Each time I faced another challenge, I reminded myself that I was doing this for my child, but it wasn't easy. The weight of the accusations, the whispers behind my back, and the isolation I felt from the people I once trusted was crushing. Karen, on the other hand, seemed to be thriving in her new role as the one in control, the one who held all the power. I kept hearing about how she was telling people that I was unstable, that I had failed as a mother. It didn't help that I had no one to back me up. Most of the people I knew were either too afraid of her or didn't want to get involved in the drama. She had always been a force to be reckoned with, but now it felt like she was using her influence to tear apart everything I had worked for. The situation grew worse when a judge ordered a temporary custody arrangement, and my child was taken from me for a few days. I was devastated, heartbroken. It was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I sat in that empty apartment, surrounded by boxes that still hadn't been unpacked, and cried like I'd never cried before. But in the midst of the pain, something inside me shifted. I realized I couldn't let Karen win. I couldn't let her tear apart my life without a fight. I called a new lawyer, someone who had dealt with difficult custody cases before, and began building a defense. Every night, after I put my child to bed, I would research case laws, write down everything I could remember about Karen's past actions, and prepare for the battle ahead. Weeks passed, and slowly, I started to regain control of my life. I found a place for us to stay, small but safe, and I began to rebuild. I fought for my child, fought for the truth to be heard, and fought to prove that I was more than what Karen had painted me to be. But despite my efforts, I couldn't shake the feeling that Karen wasn't finished. She was relentless, and as much as I wished for peace, I knew the real battle was still ahead of me. As the months went on, I thought I had prepared myself for every possible outcome, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. The legal battle was getting harder, and the accusations from Karen seemed to grow more outrageous with each passing day. She was pulling every string, calling in favors from old friends and using her connections to try and make me out to be the villain. But no matter how hard I fought, it felt like every step forward was met with 2 steps back. Then, one evening, I received an unexpected call. It was from a woman I didn't recognize, someone who claimed to have information about Karen. She said she had been following the situation and had witnessed something that could change everything. My heart raced as I listened to her explain. "She's been manipulating people for years," the woman told me. "I know what she's capable of, and I have proof. If you're willing to fight back, I can help." At first, I was skeptical. Who was this woman? Why was she suddenly reaching out to me now? But the desperation in her voice made me listen. After some hesitation, I agreed to meet her. When we met in a quiet cafe the next day, she handed me a folder. Inside were photographs, emails, and records that showed Karen's history of deceit, manipulation, and even abuse. It was all there, proof of what I had suspected all along but could never prove. I felt a rush of relief mixed with anger. With this new evidence, I returned to my lawyer, who was just as stunned as I was. We quickly moved to present the evidence in court. For the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. This might finally be the turning point I had been waiting for. But just as things seemed to be falling into place, Karen played her trump card. She filed a restraining order against me, claiming that I had threatened her. It was an outright lie, and I knew it, but I also knew how damaging it could be. The court case had taken another unexpected turn, and now I was on the defensive once again. I felt like I was drowning in this never-ending fight. No matter what I did, Karen seemed to have a way of twisting things, of controlling the narrative. But I wasn't ready to give up, not after everything we had been through. The battle felt like it was dragging on forever. Just when I thought there was no way out, something changed. The final hearing came, and the court was presented with all the evidence, the photos, the emails, the records. My lawyer made a strong case, and for the first time, Karen's manipulation was exposed. She took the stand and, as she spoke, her confidence faltered. Her stories didn't add up. The lies she had told to so many people began to unravel, piece by piece. And in that moment, I realized that everything I had been fighting for wasn't just about reclaiming my home. It was about reclaiming my truth. The judge ruled in my favor. I was granted full custody of my child, and the restraining order against me was dismissed. For the first time in a long while, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It wasn't just a victory. It was the end of the nightmare that Karen had caused in our lives. But even with the ruling, there was no celebration. I didn't feel triumphant, not in the way I thought I would. I was simply relieved. Relieved that the truth had finally come out, and that we could begin to rebuild our lives, piece by piece, without the constant fear and tension. Karen, however, didn't take the ruling well. But I had learned that no matter how loud she screamed or how hard she tried to bring me down, I would never let her have that kind of power over me again. In the end, we moved forward. We found a new home, one that was filled with warmth, love, and safety. My child and I, together, started to heal from everything that had been taken from us. And while the scars of the past would always remain, I knew that the worst was over. Karen may have tried to destroy everything, but in the end, we were stronger than ever. And no one, not even her, could take that away from us.